At last, welcome. I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole, Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something, what you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire career. That there's something wrong with the traditional classroom. You're not sure what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind. You know the solution out there. It is driving you to change how you view the classroom. Do you know what I'm talking about? Unfortunately, no one can be told what flipping a classroom does. You have to try it for yourself. The agents of status quo would want you to prove that it works first, but in order to prove it, you need to try it, and to try it, you must accept that you are not alone in your classroom anymore. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the Brussels sprout, the story ends, and you return to your traditional classroom. You take the plum pudding, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. But remember, the proof is in the pudding.
Change is hard. Hesitation, normal. Flipping a classroom without thinking things through is likely to lead any one of us into a classic trap. Brand new tool, same old school. If the video lessons are simply recorded traditional lectures and the in-class activities are nothing more than what used to be homework, well, the flipped classroom detractors can only be right. To truly flip a classroom, there are a few things you should be ready to try for yourself. Flip your PD. Only logical, wouldn't you say? Being good for the goose or something of the sort. Anyway, if you're watching this, you just might already be doing so, and you know that flipping your professional development doesn't stop at watching videos. You have to share them and talk about them with colleagues, explore the concepts. You can organize lunches where you and your colleagues would share what you've taken out of interesting TED Talks or Edutopia videos, for instance. You should also take the conversation online by following great pedagogues on Twitter. The FlipClass or EdChat hashtags might be great places to start looking for like-minded educators. Oh, and by the way, if you were looking for the best excuse to get yourself a brand new iPad or other tablet, flipping your PD is it. Try some video games. I know this may sound odd, but there are some very important lessons in video games. And I'm not talking about the often lame learning games that quiz you on math or anything like that. No. The open-world role-playing games are perhaps the ones education needs to learn from the most. How does this relate to flipping? Well, in those games, your character has a main mission and can come across a multitude of side missions. Now, if you follow the path the game draws up for you, the monsters or other enemies your character will encounter are going to be progressively tougher as your character gets better equipment and new skills. But you can choose to wander off and explore the world and perhaps find some unexpected special mission and enemies that are way too challenging for you at this point. But that's fine, because you can try and fail as often as you want. That's okay. If the challenge is too great, you can backtrack and take your character on some easier missions, pick up some new gear, advance in a couple of skills, and now you're ready to try again. Do you see where I'm going with this? I've had the chance to hear Aaron Sams and Jonathan Bergman, flipped classroom pioneers, say that you can flip just a few topics or modules at a time. That's good advice, especially if you want to create all of your own videos. But ultimately, you will need videos that cover most, if not all, of the content of your course. This way, you'll be offering your learners the opportunity to tackle that tougher challenge when they want, like one would in an open-world RPG. It doesn't matter if they don't get it right on the first try. What's important is that they know what's coming up ahead so they can get the equipment and skills they need. And this brings me to another thing to try. Relinquish some control. In a traditional classroom, the teacher decides the pace of the course by constantly gauging the average student. Yeah, you know, the one that doesn't really exist. In a flipped classroom, students can advance at their own pace. This allows students to master a topic before tackling the next one. Granted, our current schooling system kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. I believe that someday we'll understand that schools should help develop and recognize one's competencies and knowledge, not filter people by giving them scores that reflect how they did on tests based on a one-size-fits-all curriculum. But hey, that's a whole other video right there.
Have you ever stood and stared at it, marveled at its beauty, its genius? Rows of students living out their lives, oblivious, synchronous. I'd like to share a revelation that I've had. It came to me when I tried to understand your flipped classroom, and I realized that you're not actually teachers. You see, every teacher on this campus instinctively develops a natural tedium with his or her students, but you flip teachers do not. You cover a subject area and you let your students do the hard work until every video is consumed. There is another type of person that follows the same pattern. Do you know what it is? A slacker.
Nothing could be further from the truth. But I will paraphrase Arthur C. Clarke and say that if a teacher can be replaced by YouTube, then he or she should be. This can only happen if a teacher is doing nothing more than giving lectures and offering bottom-of-blooms type of activities in class. A classroom, especially a flipped one, should be buzzing with learners solving problems, collaborating, creating asynchronously with a teacher that's guiding and coaching them instead of lecturing. The videos will be part of the tools learners refer to, videos that the teacher will have either carefully chosen or created. In my opinion, a flip teacher should aim to be an uber teacher, pedagogically and didactically highly competent. There's only one way to get there: practice. Creating videos for flipping is actually very good practice because it will give you an opportunity to step back and see how you teach. If you are considering creating some videos for flipping, here are a few things you might want to keep in mind. There's no amount of rewinding that can compensate for poor didactics. You should try and make each video your best shot at explaining a particular concept or process. This could mean investing more time in the text than in the multimedia presentation itself. Resist the temptation to offer shortcuts or tricks. You want to make the concept understood, not to be mindlessly applied or repeated. In any case, be careful not to get caught up in form at the expense of content. Or, as Salman Khan aptly puts it, you shouldn't have to listen to a rap song about a parabola to get excited about it. Make optimal use of technology. I'm not talking about bells and whistles or acrobatics here, but there's no reason a video lesson should suffer the same limitations a live lecture does. Spelling things out on a whiteboard or hearing a gazillion ums and ers shouldn't be part of the program. Use illustrations, animations, or videos to add meaning to what you're saying. See them more as part of another available layer for explanation, not just for eye candy. It takes a while to keep it short. Video lessons should be clearer and more concise than a live lecture. I've found that I can often cover content in 1/5 the time in a capsule than I would in a live lecture. It takes time to produce that kind of quality. Now, you might be thinking, well, if that's so, I won't have enough time to cover the whole course. Thankfully, you're not the only one creating these videos. This is happening everywhere on the planet right now. If we all share what we're recording, then we'll have access to the world's best in every subject matter before you know it. And finally, make a difference. If you're going to create videos, there's no point in reinventing the wheel. Your speech should add a spoke. Flipping is a new classroom dynamic. It's another way of letting the computer take care of the computable while you take care of the meaningful. I'm not saying you should dodge your learners' bottom-of-blooms type of questions. But if you flip your classroom right, you might not need to. And that means more time for your class to be an even more engaging, cognitively and creatively stimulating learning environment.
I know you're out there, wondering if you should flip your classroom. I don't know the future. I didn't record this to tell you how the traditional classroom was going to end. I recorded this to show you how the future could begin. I hope you'll discover a classroom where other great pedagogues are invited through video and where your role becomes richer, more challenging. A classroom without borders or boundaries. A classroom where more cognitively and creatively demanding learning activities are made possible. But, what? Are you still there? Hello? Well, anyway, where your classroom goes from here is a choice that's left to you.